calculators, I feel like, as we would have expected, considering their, pass. Hey, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I just feel like, I expected a little bit more dominance out of them today, and it definitely, showing at least signs of weakness, definitely holes in the armor.
They're showing they're not unbreakable.
Yeah.
You can beat them, as Whedon Boys almost did with a stand-in. I'm not sure whether or not it's just the Thorn absolutely popping off or GateKeepers looking a little bit weak. I think this match will be the real tell. But we'll see how each of these teams draft. I'm very interested to see what Impact brings to the table. As the first time these guys played, they brought a very wacky comp. They brought Paloma, Jumong, Varesh. I don't think we'll be seeing that, as it did not look very good, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw like a stray Varesh pick.
That's a very, double range, like kind of slower tempo composition there from them. But very much the exact opposite of every adjective I just used here, as we get the double Ulrich being picked up out of the two. Very much not slow, very much in your face there with that support pick for both teams.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the melee pick here is. Looked really good on the Varesh, or not on the Varesh, sorry, the Thorn. I think the Thorn could be really good here. I really like it on Veg. Of course, his Freya looked very good earlier too. We are going to see the Freya again. It makes a lot of sense with the Ulrich. On the other side, Hot Biscuit playing Esmo. I'm interested as to why he's playing Esmo instead of Ashka. Of course, it's a lot harder to find setup onto the Ulrich Freya. Freya, of course, having a lot of iframes, as does Ulrich. Yeah. So it's a lot harder to get that consistent like Volcano into ulti setup. So maybe that's why, but I do like the Ashka pick. The ultimate is very high value, as those two melee characters on Impact always want to be in.
And so your question on that comes down to the comfortability of the Ashka, which we get ourselves a Rook.
Let's go.
But I was asking, is that the comfortability? You're questioning that because the comfortability that Hot Biscuit has on his Ashka specifically, or it's like you see a reason that Esma might not have the same pack in the punch?
No, I see why Ashka might not be picked, because there's iframes available from Impact. Sorry if I was a little bit unclear. But my God, we have a Rook. Let's stop talking about Ashka. I don't care about Ashka.
Go.
Rook, go. We'll see how this goes. This is incredibly exciting. As Rook Ulrich, that sounds terrifying.
And I can tell you what is also terrifying is if you are a Jumong and Rook hits a spacebar in your face before you have any energy or any stacks on that weapon, he hurts so good. And then you'd be like, we'll just pull back. And he's just like, we'll take a nice R. Bam! In cap against the wall, boys. I'm just waiting out the next rotation. GateKeepers pulling in 72.2% of the votes for you guys at home. Understandably so. These guys are a bit of a terror, but I didn't expect it to be that lopsided here, considering this big names, big games here.
Yeah, I know. It's very surprising. Maybe it's that star power of Jolt. You know, he is the face of Battlerite as far as Europe goes. So to see him pull in all the votes, it makes sense. People got faith in their boy. I got a little bit of faith in him too, though, going into this one. I feel really good about this Rook. And, you know, Impact, they're known as the team that puts out the pressure, but I foresee GateKeepers really getting in there this game.
The one thing that's got me, you know, sitting there going, I want to agree with you, but I'm holding my reserve. You know, it's got to be the fact that we got Dizzler on the other side and he's got Jumong. And I'm impressed, you know, very much when he ends up getting the play on this character. So let's get at it here between GateKeepers and Impact, some of the best of Europe, ladies and gentlemen. And that is hard to even fathom, considering how dope these games have been already so far today.
Yeah, dude, it's wild that this is happening week 2 as well. Of course, we saw this matchup week 1 in this double round robin. Same thing with SSG versus Youngsung. We see the two titans of their groups facing off against each other so early on. Very interested to see how this goes. And I keep talking about it, but I just can't help it. I really am excited to see Rook. Whoa, okay. So Jolts generally plays support. This is a Jolts Rook. I just assumed it would be Rutha since he plays Bako, but Rutha actually made the switch onto Ulrich. This is wild.
This is extremely wild. This is, alrighty then. So when we get the mix-up, and I mean, Bako and, you know, Ulrich maybe play a little bit of the like, but I know Blossom and Rook definitely don't.
Dude,
so a lot to be proven here with the, you know, kind of face of European battle right there, Jolts.
You know what we were talking about earlier? How GateKeepers were predictable.
Yeah, and now anything but. I take it back, Jolts. You know what? Hit me with the biggest bamboozle I've seen so far.
Big damage onto the Freya to start things off. That armor break really just enabling damage. And Rook, he's got that first bar of energy. Very important.
Jolts takes a lot of damage there, though. Stud number 2 going to come through there after Ulrich getting the follow-up. Dragon Slayer already going to be used, but the Radiant Shield just says not today. Blind going to be thrown back here. A lot of pressure already being split there on to Vague. He's going to be able to retreat back to the team. Now, focusing onto the Orb. Who gets it? Vague claims it for himself in a pretty big percentage in HP.
Yeah, Really good start here for Impact as they get a huge chunk of damage onto Jolts. He's been unable to find his way in. Oh, the in-cap up top. The ultimate is going to land, but not too much damage is going to come out onto the Esmo because of the favor. And now the damage is being turned. Vague might go down here, and he does. A huge turn onto Vague, and he gets punished.
Vague thinking he has the moment of opportunity to capitalize there onto GateKeepers with that in-cap setup into ultimate. But GateKeepers, in fact, are the ones saying, no, we've got the trick up our sleeves now, throwing down that M2, hitting the stun, and the Age is thrown out. It is all just kind of stalling out the inevitable here as the double Ulrich, one of my favorite kind of, you know, in terms of animation, watching the space bars and favors flow everywhere. It's hard to get the turnaround recover. Ulrich, whenever he loses a teammate, he loses a lot more than just that when looking at his kit. And GateKeepers pull ahead 1-0.
Oh yeah, and you really see the damage that was put out by Hot Biscuit. He actually output more damage than Jolts that round, and that's really what you need from your Esmo. We saw Jolts get beat down pretty hard early on, but that huge punish from Hot Biscuit onto Vague when Vague had a moment of weakness, it was massive, and it turned the round around for them. Jolts able to find his way back off of that, and GateKeepers really just striking.
3, 2,
See if Impact here can pull it back into control for themselves, because outside of that major initiation opportunity, things were looking near dead even here for the teams. Rook constantly making everybody second guess themselves, feigning that spacebar as often as you can.
Nice Reign of Arrows there, getting a decent amount of damage and making the Rook and the Esmo a little bit uncomfortable. That blind being applied too, and there's no energy available on the Rook. The Dragon Slayer, here we go, and it hits the orb and Rook.
That
Rook
was
just gets
huge. That was so brilliant on the side of Dizzler to use that orb to make sure he got the value out of that ultimate.
Yeah, you know, GateKeepers, they still managed to secure that orb, though. This is going to be big if the silence hits. The counter's not proc from Vague, and he gets no shields, and things aren't looking so good for the Freya of Red anymore.
Yeah, and when they ended up getting that retreat back into the choke, GateKeepers there almost had a moment where they were able to gain that control back into their favor. We see the counter there procced onto Rook. No spacebar commitment quite yet. Counter pulling in Freya.
Very unfortunate miss there from Dizzler as he doesn't hit the Rook with a Dragon Slayer. That might have secured them the round, but the damage is starting to come out, and he finishes him with an M2.
Yeah, that was such a great job there from Dizzler, setting it up with the trap beforehand, making sure that, you know, if you can't get the kill the first time, I've got you the second. Impact holding up very, very strong here. One thing I didn't say when I was highlighting the problems of getting spacebarred as a Jumong is also if that spacebar is not onto you, Jumong loves killing a Rook.
Oh, yeah,
He, with only one iframe and your counter, it literally goes, there's your M2 onto a target. All right, that's an iframe down. Now I just don't hit that counter, and we talked about it, the trade. With that EXM2 into the double QE on the ground, it is insane damage output.
Absolutely, and when you ask a lot of the professional European Battlerite players why you don't see more Rook over there, that's their answer.
Jumong.
It's like, have you played Jumong into Rook? It's like, Jumong is so incredibly good into the Rook because of the reasons you just mentioned. The trap is so good, the Rain of Arrows is so good, and if you aren't shut down on the Jumong, if Dizzler's able to do what he wants, Rook is going to have a really hard time sustaining.
Trap's going to be thrown down, splitting the C's here of the GateKeepers. Jolts ends up committing, forcing at least one iframe use.
The orb is spawning too. Dizzler's already got that full bar of energy. This is a great start for Impact.
GateKeepers, though, end up getting it.
I don't even know how they got that. That's pretty surprising. And now the combo coming out onto Dizzler. Jolts goes straight for the Jumong, learning his lesson after last time. The Aegis throw going to come out, but it's not going to hit anything. A little bit unfortunate. But Jolts doesn't quite need it as he's going in. And the damage coming out onto the enemy Ulrich is massive.
Yeah, all the damage there. God was able to at least cut out a little bit longer. Now the pressure put on
God,
the Dragon Slayer hits two, but actually I think the members of GateKeepers are going to be just fine there. Look at Rook with that slap. Double in cap against the wall. And Impact here completely split. Backs against the wall. First the drop here is going to be God of, but clean house here.
Impact were so far out of that round before that Dragon Slayer. Dizzler did his best to bring him back in, but still that Rook double in cap right afterwards was absolutely massive, and Jolts, rightfully so, pulling the MVP of that round.
And before that even went down, when that initial initiation was trying to happen and the punishment was there on the side of GateKeepers, Dizzler was trying to actually get a Dragon Slayer before that point and got interrupted.
Yep.
So that second Dragon Slayer was merely, oh, we've already lost this trade. I'm just trying to turn this thing around whatsoever. So huge plays here from GateKeepers, and is why they managed to pull ahead here. But it has been very, very tense and back and forth, and by no means is this going to be over. All of this is going to hinge, I feel like, on Jolts' Rook. More so the Jolts' Rook with the trade-off into that Jumong pressure here.
Oh, he misses his charge to start this one off. Not ideal, and Hot Biscuit eats a fat RMB from the Jumong. And now there's a huge mess of characters, but Impacts are coming on the lesser end of this.
Oh, he ends up not connecting with that spacebar either. He
this is bad.
Oh, wow, he just uses M2. Only counter available there when it comes to survivability on
Jolts. Jolts comes back with a spacebar in. Orb gonna go over to GateKeepers, something desperately needed here. And actually, we find ourselves where Vague falling pretty low. Now the pressure split out. As the ultimate, iframe's gonna be there. Nobody taking any damage quite yet.
Yeah, that was really close to landing, and it would have been round winning for the GateKeepers, but Godov had that R available, that energy ability, giving him the iframe. Now Jolts, he has to space out. Oh, the Freya ultimate into the end cap. Great play here. Now the double rain of arrows. The Dragon Slayer from downtown. Dizzler's like, get out of here.
That was just flashy there from Dizzler. Very well done, and it's going to be able to be the thing here that likely sets Impact here now to a 2-2. But that ultimate coming out from Rook, the damage on the drummer, he falls low. But he's able to kite out here. You know, everything's still sticking to norm. Not too wild yet.
I don't know, dude. This game's wild. This game is so messy, so incredibly chaotic, and, you know, that's the power of Rook.
All right, you know, I'm going to throw it out. Let me know if I'm wrong here.
Hit me with it.
Jolts is struggling a little bit with the space bars. We've seen 3 that have been in max range right next to the target, but not hitting onto the target.
Maybe a little bit of a lack of practice, as, you know, he's been playing healer for all of like the recent history of Jolts' career. But still, yeah, his score kind of reflects it. That 660, not where you want to be. Hot Biscuit having an even rougher time at 368. But man, Jolts, it's very hard, and it's really like, it's win or lose. If he lands onto Dizzler or if he lands on Kazagov early on, it's really going to change the pace of the round, and you really saw it last round. He wasn't able to land those max range space bars, and he kind of just got ruined.
It's kind of like you're playing the Rook slot machine every time you queue up his Rook. You just pull the lever, you've got yourself the 3 spinning pendulums, you've got Ulrich, you've got Jumong, you've got Freya. If you somehow get yourself a triple Freya or triple Jumong, or mainly Jumong, it's going to be a lot better time there. But anytime you have to deal with that frontliner, Freya, it gets a lot tougher. Orb number 1 going to GateKeepers here, as they got quite a bit of percentage into their name. Jolts moved in with that spacebar, ends up landing onto a trap, but the biggest thing here is Hot Biscuit taking so much damage with that Ulrich stun.
Oh, a nice dodge too. Jolt's not going to hit that charge. Very unfortunate. He is able to reconnect with his team. And he uses his R&B as well. This orb is so important. Ooh, and a nice ultimate. It's actually not going to hit on Godov. The end cap coming out too, and the pressure is mounting from Impact.
A little bit of damage there onto Vague. Armor break and percentile damage increase now onto Jumong. A spacebar's going to land now on Jolts. Dizzler, it's burnt the double spacebar. Only Prowl remains as his ability to get the retreat. He'll find that time. Dragon Slayer even going to be used.
Yeah, that R&B from Jolts was available there with the stun. The red team going to get the orb, but the ultimate of Esmo going to land on Freya. She's armor broken into double aim cap, and he aims the Chaos Grip perfectly, landing onto the Freya, but they don't manage to get the kill. And Rutha, he's getting low here. He has to play very safe, as does Vague.
Orb in 4 seconds. The double Q coming out from Jumong. Pressure onto the backline. Jolts ends up using the M2. Focuses their orb. Oh my gosh, it's dancing all over the place, but it ends up going over to GateKeepers.
Yeah, Orb score now 3-1 in favor of the GateKeepers. The Ulrich of Red taking a little bit of damage from Joltsy, and Jolts has a ton of HP to work with. He can make a couple mistakes, and we see him playing aggressively as a result. He's standing in front of his team, trying to allow his teammates to play safely and heal up a little bit. Now we see him go in, the Esmo ultimate, into the pull, but it's not going to be there, but it still ends up landing on Godov.
Yeah, they end up getting the damage there onto Godov after the armor break. Now the spacebar lands onto Dizzler. A bunch of M1s coming in, but they actually respond and get the damage now onto Rutha.
Beautiful play.
GateKeepers here are now down a member, end up using the Rook ultimate, 3 slashes down into the ground. Everybody survives, but it is
Look at this
close.
Split. This is so bad here for GateKeepers. If Godov, or for Impact, if Godov is able to get killed here by the GateKeepers, this could go in favor of the blue team, but it's looking like he's going to be able to reconnect.
Yeah, and they turn now, just rotate that focus down, and with that, we find a situation where Impact is able to gain the momentum here and pull ahead 3-2. When looking at these rounds. Very well done. Very different round, I feel like, when it came to the playstyle and thought process for a majority of them. And Jolts, a lot more spacebars, hitting in that round compared to what we saw in the first ones. I feel like we had 3-4, whereas before it was like, I'm next to them, but I'm not hitting them.
Yeah, the problem with that round was simply that Ruth and Hot Biscuit got chunked so low in a couple of their engages that they really couldn't follow up on the aggression of Jolts. And when we did see them try to follow up, when we saw Rutha try to go in, a beautiful EX space from Godov cleaned him up. Great play from Godov and good recognition of the situation they were in to find that kill when they had the opportunity.
Hot Biscuit testing the waters there with that M2. Jolts ends up committing. Focus, a lot of damage onto Dizzler, actually. He's still got at least not all of his weapon stacks, but enough for a prowl if he needs it here. Pressure there, being thrown out by Hot Biscuit on that Esmo. Orb's going to be up here, but a lot of damage being thrown out onto the melees. Orb going to be picked up by Impact. Pretty well needed, but Dizzler a bit isolated here from the team. Very forefront kind of positioning out of Dizzler compared to some of the past rounds.
Nice ultimate there into the end cap. The favor is being applied by Rutha, but still the damage has been done. Biscuit has that ultimate and they need the next orb with it, but they're not in range to get it. Jolt is trying to put out pressure for his ally, but ends up just getting shredded in the process. The Dragon Slayer now, it does secure the orb, so the Esmo ultimate gets no value, and this is all she wrote for Gatekeepers. Stealing your line here because it perfectly sums up the state of the round. Gatekeepers have no business winning this one, and they won't.
I think the response is, and she punctuated it.
And she punctuated it.
They're in the flesh. And now we find ourselves in a situation where Impact now 1 round away. What amazing play here. I mean, we saw the Rook. We knew it was going to be a bit more of a, you know, in the world of simple machines, the fulcrum kind of increasing on the teeter-totter of the composition when you commit to something like that Rook. But it hasn't been like where you look at it and you go, okay, here's the Rook getting one shot. Okay, here's the Rook doing the one-shotting himself, right? It's been very much a, ooh, Hot Biscuit maybe out of position here. Ulrich, you know, is he going a little bit too far? What I'm trying to say is even though the Rook was the risky pick, it doesn't feel like it's the, oh, this is all Rook's case, right? It's very much a just well played on the side of Impact.
Yeah, I think Dizzler's absolutely popping off, getting so much done for his team. He hits that counter, though, to start things off, and this is not ideal. The armor break is applied to, and these M1s just dealing so much damage from the Rook. He finally gets enough energy to eat, but now the damage is going to come out to him. The M2 from Dizzler deals so much. Blue team, they're in position to get the orb, but Red might be able to snag it. They want this. The Rain of Arrows drop for it, and they are able to get it.
Yeah, they're going to get it. Hot Biscuit there, getting the pressure. Hands the M2 onto Dizzlers, making him second guess himself. The Thunderclap comes down there from Freya. Thunderstorm landing there. Spacebar going to come through, giving a little bit over to Jolts and friends. The HP on the members of Gatekeeper slowly kind of falling behind. Incap set up there with the nice E follow-up from Rook. Two-man stun coming out from Ulrich. The ultimate drop by Esmo gets them the orb, but no kills.
Yeah, look at that Rain of Arrows. Jolts has to eat, and he has to eat twice in that Rain of Arrows because he just ends up taking so much damage, and now the ultimate from Freya into the end cap. That ultimate stun Battlerite getting so much done to ensure an end cap afterwards, and now Veg, he just goes back and reconnects with his team, and Jolts is so incredibly low now, he can't safely engage with 50 max HP.
Yeah, there's no opportunity to be able to move up, and that puts a lot on the shoulders of Rutha. The double counter hit, getting the pull in, Aegis ends up going down. Spacebar already forced now from the Esmo. Will we see Veg move forward there?
The Dragon Slayer comes out, but the Arcane Barrier is available. Joltsy is trying to find his opening as he does on Veg. A little bit of damage, but I'm not sure if it's enough to bring him back. The counters proc, this helps out a little bit, but, oh, Veg misses that ultimate.
Oh my goodness, and they get the turnaround there. The spacebar comes in with Jolts, and then the incap into the Esmo ultimate. Oh, look at that R being used from Ulrich to try and buy the time with the iframe, but look at this. Gatekeepers, hold on.
You can't miss those, Veg. You can't miss those. You were so close. It was so unfortunate. That would have been the kill onto Rook, but Jolt's able to WASD out of it off of a little bit of a misplacement of the Freya ultimate, and as a result, Gatekeepers find their way back in that round.
A silver lining here, but there's still a lot to be gained, especially considering the trade-off that we saw with Veg and the decision-making on that use of that Thunderstorm on Freya. Okay. What else do we need to see different here for Gatekeepers?
I think it's just all about that Rook. He needs to find his way in, and he needs to enable Hot Biscuit to do that damage. Orb control is also incredibly important for the side of the Gatekeepers, as energy does so much for Rook. Gives him his in cap, gives him his eat. It's just so key.
Focusing the pressure there onto Dizzler for a moment. Spacebar from Gadov into the stun. That's going to be the iframe usage already there. Dizzler popping off there on that Jumong, throwing all that damage out. Orb's going to go ahead and spawn now, finding himself in a 1v1 as Veg now coming back to this realm after the R from Ulrich ends up landing. Orb going over to Impact here. Spacebar lands from Jolts. He looks to move up, but Dizzler and friends looking very healthy.
Yeah, the HP pools are even up top, but if you look at Jolts, he's losing all of the HP on his team. Definitely not what you want to have happen on the side of the blue team. The Freya ultimate going to land this time, getting a nice chunk onto Jolts, and it sets up the red team to get the orb, but the Esmo ultimate's available, and they're going to get it.
They end up getting it here. Aegis with a response Aegis. The Frisbee return, not going to stun anybody out for from Impact. Prowl already forced. Triple weapon stack will be able to be earned here. Unlikely to see Gatekeepers capitalize on that. Control still here. Jolts moves up, spacebar lands, M2 not going to hit Dizzler. Orb comes up, counter already down onto Rook. Jolts in a bad spot there as the Ulrich stun coming through. He's going to be the focus here as they're letting everything happen here. All the damage going in, even Dizzler moving with that double spacebar. He hits the E, the counter comes through. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Impact, clean shot
Yeah.
and end up taking this series.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. That Dragon Slayer from Dizzler to end it. And we saw Jolts go through 3 bars of energy eating there in that rain of arrows, trying to survive. He had the energy to do it, but at the end of the day, the burst damage from Impact was just too good, and that coordination at the end, helping them find the kill. And 5-3 in a pretty close game.
Very, very kind of tense there between the two teams. Oh, man. How often, I mean, I know obviously it's very uncommon, but I'm just going to, for anybody at home who doesn't understand and know, Jolt's in the past, that he's the support player for the squad and everything like it, how rare is it to have a flex of not just a character, but like an entire role?
We see it occasionally with melee and ranged, but
Yeah.
it's much easier in terms of going from DPS to DPS. When you go from DPS to healer, that's a much different skill set. It requires you to be good at different things. Jolt is capable, and he's a very good player, as is Rutha, but it just doesn't always work out. It's very rare, and there's a reason. It is difficult.
Yeah, it is very much so. I mean, once in a while from, my competitive background, like I'm from a world where that once in a while would end up happening, but anybody shifting into that support, like as you said, because the idea of what it means to be a support in a game, thought process-wise, very
Yes,
different
very
than damage
different.
a majority of the time. Even I would argue some of the melees, because some are more on that kind of beefcake, I'm like a quote-unquote tank, if you will, rather than the I am the melee assassin, I'm going to get all that damage, like a Croak versus Bako, right? I think of like a very different, and even them kind of have interesting trade-offs. It's just cool to, kind of question here when we ever get that kind of flexibility from these players here. But Impact looking so very good from beginning to end, a majority of that round.